55% of people in the United States can no longer make ends meet. Today, the United States is experiencing a severe economic crisis where people feel that everything is increasingly getting out of control and they do not see a clear solution.
At 64, I realized I could not afford to retire. I would have to work another 10 years just to pay off my current debt.
You know what really scared me? When I came to the realization that I couldn't afford to retire at the age of 63. And that was after working for years, mostly as a nurse. You're not lazy, you've done everything right, you got an education, raised a family, worked your entire life, and here you are, you can't afford to retire.
Shalom. First of all, I'd like to start off by giving all great honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honor to teachers, elders, and also great millstone like God's brothers put on this truth. Faithfully, fearlessly feeding sheep into brothers and sisters. Doing in Shalom. Today's lesson titled, No Rest for the Children of the Wicked. Now I just show you, some clips there, and this is going to be the basis of the lesson. I have some more clips that's going to be shown, and of course we go into the scriptures. But first I'd like to say to these Edomites, okay, y'all need to shut the hell up, okay, and stop groaning and moaning about your situation. Your situation is biblical, it's part of prophecy, and you're going to go through it whether you like it or not. Before I show you some more clips here, let's go into Jeremiah 49 and 12, and it reads, But thus said the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken, and art thou he that should altogether go unpunished? Thou should not go unpunished, but thou should surely drink of it. And what's that cup? That cup is going to be all of the judgments that the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai going to bring on you people, okay, particularly you Edomites, okay, the same way we had the judgment brought on us, and we weren't supposed to go through it because we're the righteous children, okay, we're Yasharala, but yes, so we went through it. Now, in the ending part of that clip, you see these older Edomites talking about, they were looking to retire, but they can't retire, they have to go back to work and keep working. What are you bitching about, okay? When you take a look at this picture right here that I have in the background, okay, who's that? That's Jake's. That's us in the field, okay? And this was duplicated, okay, for what they call South America and North America and other parts of the world, okay? So you Arabs, you're not going to get away either, okay, with enslaving the children of Israel. But let's talk about these Edomites here, okay? From a child, okay, young child, all the way to old grandpa and old grandma, we had to pick cottons, work in the sugarcane field, etc., etc., whatever work you all put on us, and we had to meet a quota. And what do we have to show for it afterward? After 5 centuries? Not a damn thing. Even when Jake tried to build, y'all went and burned it down and hung Jakes from a tree. So what the hell are you complaining about? In fact, let's go into the book of Luke, and let's see how this actually is playing out. Okay, this is your Mashiach here speaking, because they was trying to accuse him, of witchcraft and sorcery, and that he was a devil, but he knew their thoughts, and it reads, But he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Let's stop right there for a second. Let's take a look at the word desolation, because it's exactly what everybody's experiencing, okay, except, those who are chosen by the Lord, Yahweh Shai, to endure through this, okay, even though, the hopefully lack is still going to feel, adversity, okay? Desolation means what? Desolation refers to a state of complete emptiness, destruction, or ruin, okay? It also describes profound sadness, loneliness, or grief. It signifies being abandoned, devastated, or spiritually low. Look, I highlighted spiritual, mental, okay? He experienced spiritual desolation, feeling disconnected and without hope, which is exactly the way you Edomites are feeling right now. Continuing on to Luke 11, and it reads, And a house divided against a house falleth. If Satan also be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? Okay, and we know this is a very satanic kingdom. The so-called white man is a liar. Okay, he's the devil that the Bible speaks of. And you people need to understand this before I show you the next clip. Let's go to Deuteronomy 37. And the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, thy power, will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee, which is you so-called Edomites. And this is an Edomite edition here. Of course, you have Jakes and the other tribes that are experiencing catching hell, but for the most part, as we know in Great Babylon, America, the cameras only focus usually on the so-called white people and the so-called black people, and recently the so-called Hispanics and Latinos, for the sake of them being the problem of illegal immigrants here in this nation. Okay, but you people about to experience Deuteronomy 28, starting from verse 15 to 68, and that's in the play right now, and also going to be playing out in the kingdom, okay, when the Mashiach return and set up the heavenly kingdom.
The University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Report now nearing its lowest level ever, as years of sticky inflation and the lasting impact of the government shutdown loom large over American households.
This has caused morale to be at one of its lowest points, as 6 out of 10 consumers see their financial situation becoming increasingly difficult.
So the bigger headline is we are awfully close to being as miserable American consumers as they've been at any point in recorded American history.
So I'm the guy who screwed up my retirement by not putting enough money away to retire with dignity. And I say retire with dignity because all I wanted to do was live at the same level I lived at before I retired.
So basically what you Edomites always been looking at is you're going to ride into the sunset. You can be wicked all your life, as long as the hardship was not happening to you, you'll watch, from the distance or the sideline as Jake struggle, march in the street, crying for equality, crying for to be saved, from you guys, which y'all are the oppressors, okay? And all y'all would say is, why don't y'all just, straighten those backs up and, lace up your boots and, face it like a man or whatever. And here you all are right now in this situation. You never thought it would happen. But the prophets has been on the highway in the Bible for the last 40 years telling you that it's going to happen. Let's go into Revelation 6 and start verse 5. It reads, "And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou not hurt not the oil and the wine." Here it is, you have an imbalance. Okay? Now you have the super wealthy, okay? And we can see the way they're doing things right now, manipulating the stock market. One day the Strait of Hormuz is open, the US military is having a blockade or they're escorting ships. The next day, oh, there's peace talk, the stock goes up, Dow Jones goes up, oil price falls down, people are making money, etc., etc., etc. In the meantime, what hasn't changed? You have not seen a change in the price of groceries, okay, mortgage payments, interest rate, okay, petrol fuel to get around in order to go and work to be able to keep, a steady flow of money into the economy. Okay, and how is that impacting people? It's impacting a lot of you Edomites because there's a clear difference in how you were living before and how you're living now. So here's this guy. He thought that he was going to ride into the sunset, and sit in his rocking chair and travel and, talk about how he, what he was and what he isn't, those things like that. And that's not happening, okay? Things are, you have an inflation that is just uncontrollable. Continuing on, it says, "And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the four beasts say, Come and see. And I looked, and lo, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death. And hell followed with him, and power was given unto him over the four part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth." Okay, and we are about to catch that here in Great Babylon, America. People are going to uprise real soon. Here in these Edomites talk about, when black people chimp out, it's like this. But when they chimp out, okay, it's scary. Okay, meaning what? Pursuing the second Esdras 15 and second Esdras 16, it goes into details about the division and what happens when you have seditions amongst men and people are getting sick and tired of things. So, we're in that time right now where great debt, uprising, okay, and the pace of life that you people have been used to is simply never ever coming back.
What I do for money is Uber driving. I'm curious to know whether there are any other 84-year-old drivers.
I'm 82 years old, and I wish I could retire now.
I do not have any retirement savings.
I always felt that I was too young to think about retirement.
The cost of living has gotten out of sight, and there is no safety net for the elderly.
Bills are harder to pay because everything costs more.
I grew up very poor, and part of what drives me right now is that I don't want to be poor again, because I know what it feels like. As soon as you start working, plan for retirement.
Nearly 2/3 of boomers cannot afford to retire. According to some research I was just looking at, it said nearly 2/3 of boomers cannot afford to retire.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes 7, start verse 11, and reads, Wisdom is good with an inheritance, and by it there is profit to them that see the sun. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. Okay, so the wisdom that the man of the Lord has from Yahweh Shema Shai is going to give us life, because we understand, okay, that money is a defense. It is, okay, but what is more valuable than money? Wisdom. To be able to navigate through these times that we're entering into. Okay, we have Jacob's trouble, okay, which is 12 tribes of Israel, so-called blacks, Native Americans and Latinos and Hispanics are going to go through, because we have the devil, okay, or the children of the wicked, the so-called white people or the Caucasians, the Edomites. They're going to shift blame from themselves onto the poor. We're the easy targets that they're going to go after first, and then they're going to rise up against their government. Okay, so this place is about to collapse, because unlike Jakes, who would march in the street, okay, asking for basically peace, tranquility, equal rights, these Edomites, and they're going to sulk into it, and then they're going to raise arms. And the wisdom that we have to have in these days is, this is not our fight, because this is not our rest. Continue on, it says, consider the work of power, for who can make that straight which he had made crooked? Esau will never be straight. Esau was made crooked to be evil. He's made to be greedy. He's made to do everything that he's doing right now. He's a hireling. So there's no changing in this man. You Edomites that are crying, you're crying for nothing. You're just not in a position, okay, to execute the wickedness that's being executed on this earth. And you would have done the same thing too if you were in that position. What you have done is you have executed your wickedness on people that you considered inferior to you and poorer than you, which is the so-called blacks, Native Americans, Latinos, and Hispanics. And now you're getting that payback. It says, in the day of prosperity, be joyful, but in the day of adversity, consider. Power also had set the one over against the other, to the end that man should find nothing after him. So, yes, you have the great days and you have the bad days. See, we consider the great days as a blessing from Yahweh Shema Shai, and we also know that we really actually don't deserve it. Okay, so when we do get those judgments that come, and the Lord gives his righteous, judgments and measurements, okay, you don't completely and utterly destroy us. But for you people, you see, you want it to go continuously forever and ever and ever. And that is not the case. Let's go into Isaiah 33 and start verse 5. It reads, the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai is exalted, for he dwelleth on high. He had filled Zion with judgment and righteousness. And wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, is his treasure. Let's take a look at the word stability. And it means stability is the quality of being firm, steady, unlikely to change, move, or fail. Okay, it represents resistance to disruption, whether physical, emotional, or functional. Okay? So you can see right there it had structure, mental state, and economic, political. So no matter what happens, the elect will be stable in the times of trouble because of having wisdom, and not money, wisdom.
$7,000 a month. How do doctors, anybody, look an older patient or even a younger one with an advanced illness and tell them this in good conscience? I can't. It's heartbreaking. Now, my dad doesn't have Medicare Part D. 61, I didn't even know about this stuff. I don't know why he didn't choose to get it, and I'm certainly not going to ask him now. I can only imagine he maybe didn't understand it. Who thinks about these things? It's been a good while since he was 65 and had to make that decision. But I want to let you guys know that's the piece of the Medicare that helps pay for medications, drugs that you may need.
Well, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. This is my haunting hour. This is about the time or earlier that I wake up stressed about the financial burden of having cancer. Tonight, it woke me up because I'm in still incredible amount of pain from surgery. And I gotta take my medicine, but also sitting here worrying, how am I gonna pay for that surgery? Hope everybody gets more sleep.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra 15, starting verse 12, and it reads, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundations of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that power shall bring upon it. And part of those plagues and punishments are going to be the pestilence, the disease, the illnesses. Okay, you see how these elites, how they've poisoned the food, the water, the air, everything, and people experiencing, okay, the fallout from those, okay, and you still have to pay your bills. In the hospitals, you can see the lady was talking about, you know, taking care of her parents. You know, the other one is recovering from cancer. The bills are like $30,000 a month. So this is all part of that judgment that the Lord brings, so that, you know, these people who've been living at ease their entire lives, suddenly now, you know, your own body is going to cause you to go into poverty. And there's not going to be any mercy shown from these wicked elites, you know, in this changeover that they're trying to bring, you know, which is called a New World Order, okay? They're only looking for people that can be productive, okay, and serve their needs. Continuing, it says, they that till the ground shall mourn, for the sea shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful consolation, basically working yourself to death. That's the reason why I have these old Edomites now have to work, okay? This is in your great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, okay? They had no idea that really you're just parallel poverty, or parallel to Jakes as being poor and no bodies. Continuing, it says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And for you old Edomites, a lot of you are going to fall by the swords from the young Edomites who is going to try to take what you have, okay, assuming that maybe you as an older Edomite should have something. And the way it's going to just play out here is just going to be utter and complete chaos, okay? So Lord willing, the elect was edified, like close by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Rakakadash, no rest for the children of the wicked.